folks. Eric Stacklebeck here. Welcome to the Watchman Newscast live stream. We're wrapping up a very busy week here today with some numbers, I think, folks, as we kick off here in regards to what's happening in Israel's north right now. 75, count them, 75 rockets launched from Hezbollah at Israel over the past 24 hours alone. We're seeing a major intensification to Israel's north. You could say that obviously since October 8th, the day after the October 7th massacre, when the north went alight thanks to Hezbollah, which, again, Hezbollah started this. Israel did not raise a hand against Hezbollah on October 8th. Key point, Hezbollah began firing rockets and missiles and drones at Israel. And it's been increasingly intense for 7 months, varying degrees of intensity. But folks, I think we've crossed a threshold here in all the wrong ways. Ever since April 13th, over a month ago now, that unprecedented attack by the Iranian regime directly from Iranian soil, launching over 300 projectiles at Israel. Ever since then, Hezbollah has raised the stakes. They have intensified their attacks against Israel. We're seeing more and more rockets, missiles, and drones, and just a greater volume. We're seeing larger barrages. It's not just 10 rockets, missiles, that's bad enough. It's clusters, seemingly every day now. In the Golan, in the Galilee, we have some 60 Hezbollah projectiles falling. Today, 75. And they're going deeper and deeper into Israeli territory in the north. Not only that, more advanced weaponry that Hezbollah is using. Certainly their drones. So we're seeing Hezbollah since April 13th, number one, where, look, my concern was that Iran would be emboldened. That's exactly what happened. Iran pulled it off. Iran directly, not just through proxy, although the proxies chipped in on that day, directly from Iranian soil. The regime fired. And folks, let's face it, the response was not overwhelming, shall we say. Israel held its punches. Let's be honest. A lot of people said that was a wise decision. I don't know. What I do know is this: if not for the Biden administration tying Israel's arm behind its back, Israel almost certainly would have had a much more forceful response. In fact, reportedly, that's exactly what Israel had planned, and the Biden administration pleaded for them not to do it. So Israel largely held its fire in response to April 13th. And they carried out a strike in Isfahan, where there's an Iranian nuclear facility, to put a scare into the regime and basically tell Iran, look, we can hit you anywhere at any time. I don't know that Iran got the memo. I think the Iranian regime already knew that Israel could hit them anywhere at any time, because Israel's done that. Think of November 2020 when the Mossad eliminated Mohsen Fakhrizadeh, the father of Iran's nuclear program. And I can go on. Iranian nuclear scientists, nuclear facilities, missile facilities, drone factories consistently sabotaged by Israeli agents on the ground inside Iran. So I'm pretty sure, folks, that the Iranian regime already knew that Israel could hit them whenever and wherever they want. So I say all that to say the response to April 13th was a bit underwhelming. And again, that's because the Biden administration largely was holding Israel back. Or as Joe Biden said reportedly, as he reportedly told Benjamin Netanyahu the day after April 13th, after that onslaught, you got the win, take the win. Meaning it was a win in that 99%, that was a miracle is what it was, a miracle of God, but 99% of those rockets, missiles, drones, projectiles were intercepted in midair. Most never even reached Israeli airspace. So it was a win in that sense, but folks, a loss in that Iran did it in the first place, and there wasn't a massive, overwhelming deterrence-type response to reestablish deterrence and tell Iran, if you ever try it again, hell will be unleashed. That didn't happen. And so we've seen since then the Iranian regime puffing its chest out. We see Hezbollah increasing its attacks. And as Israel moves into Rafah now, and that's been a gradual, slow roll also because of Biden administration and Western pressure. Let's face it. Hezbollah has increased attacks since things have ramped up in Rafah over the past week or two. And Sheikh Hassan Nasrallah, the leader of Hezbollah, said this week, look, until Israel gets out of Gaza, we will continue doing this every single day in the north. So, folks, I ask you, and I've been asking this of you for a few months now, and especially now more than ever, how long can Israel stand by and just take it on the chin? Now, you might say, take it on the chin. What are you talking about? They're striking back at Hezbollah, and they've hurt Hezbollah. Absolutely. I do not deny that. We've been reporting it on a regular basis here on the news channel. And I know Israeli political and military leaders know more than me about what to do when it comes to Israel's security, in particular in the north. But look, as someone who's in Israel frequently, who knows the players, who knows decision makers, who's been in the north many, many times along that Lebanon border, Hezbollah land, and I was just there in February seeing 60,000 at least, perhaps as many as 100,000 Israelis evacuated from their homes in the north with no end date, with no clear date on when they can return home. It's a ghost town in large sections of the north. I don't know how the nation survives if two large areas, much of the south around the Gaza border and to the north around the Lebanon border, are just ghost towns where there's no essentially economic production. Long term, that's disastrous. So what I'm asking you is this. Taking on the chin is probably not the right way to say it because again, the IDF has hurt Hezbollah and hurt them badly. But man, let's rephrase it. How long can Israel go on, can the IDF go on without an overwhelming response against Hezbollah that puts an end to it? There needs to be an end put to it. Where it stops, where the rockets, the missiles, the drones every day, it stops. And the residents of the north can return home. How long can Israel put that off? I'm just opening the live stream by asking that of you, folks, because who in their right mind would return home along the Lebanon border if Hezbollah is launching rockets there every day? And Hezbollah has intentions to carry out attacks much worse than what Hamas did on October 7th. And Hezbollah has the capabilities, folks. It's a different beast, and I do mean beast, than Hamas, much more powerful by many magnitudes, well-armed, trained, we can go on. At least 150,000 rockets, missiles pointed at every inch of Israel, tens of thousands of foot soldiers. We know, we've talked about this. Hezbollah is Iran's most lethal proxy. So no, residents of the north are not going to return home to that tinderbox, that cauldron, as long as Hezbollah is there, perched on their border, on the doorstep, quite literally. How long can Israel wait before dealing, and I mean really dealing with this threat? Because, folks, look, the title of this live stream today, Hezbollah drone missiles strike Israeli base as massive barrages continue. That says it all, but let me fill in the blanks. You might say, drone missiles, what are you talking about? Well, get this. Yesterday, and I talked earlier about Hezbollah upping the ante, so to speak, greater volume of rockets and missiles, but also more advanced technology Hezbollah is suddenly exposing. Here it is, yesterday. I love this. Actually, I loathe it, but I'll read. The Associated Press, surprise, surprise, the Lebanese militant group Hezbollah. No, it's a terrorist group. Thank you. Correction. Edit. The Lebanese terrorist group Hezbollah this week struck a military post in northern Israel using a drone that fired 2 missiles. The attack wounded 3 Israeli soldiers, one of them seriously, according to the Israeli military. You might say, well, it was a drone attack. No, folks, listen. Hezbollah has used so-called suicide drones, explosive-packed drones, and they have flown those into Israeli targets to great effect, and they've killed Israeli civilians and soldiers over the past few months using those drones. That's one thing. This drone fired missiles. That's the kind of drones that the United States uses, that Israel uses. A drone firing 2 missiles. And then after that, the drone did a nosedive and flew into a target as well. But the missile component to this, the fact that Hezbollah has drones firing missiles, is a big step up for them, and for really any terror group. And this shouldn't be a shock, really, because the Iranian regime, which is Hezbollah's patron, funds, arms, supports, trains Hezbollah. Hezbollah does not exist without Iran. Hezbollah is an arm. Southern Lebanon is an arm. Call it Western Iran, because that's what it is. It's an arm of the Iranian regime. But Iran fancies itself, as we've discussed here in the newscast, as a drone superpower. They're rolling drones off the assembly lines in Iran. They're sharing that technology not only with proxies like Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis, but with Russia. And we've talked about that. Iran right now is building a massive drone factory along with Russia east of Moscow to roll these off the assembly lines. So it's no surprise that Hezbollah now has advanced drones. Where do you think they're coming from? Why do you think Syria is so crucial to the Iranian regime? Syria is the bridge to get weapons from Iranian hands into the hands of Hezbollah in Lebanon. Damascus International Airport, Aleppo International Airport, convoys. Why do you think Israel has struck in Syria hundreds upon hundreds of times in the past several years? For exactly this, to prevent advanced weaponry from getting into the hands of Hezbollah. Iran has to transit through Syria to get the weapons next door into the hands of Hezbollah. We're talking advanced drones like this, firing missiles now, and we're talking precision-guided munitions. Precision, key word, that will hit targets in Israel with greater accuracy. That is why Israel is striking in Syria to head off the pass, as they say, to push Iran back and to block the flow of these advanced weapons. But some get through. More about the missile launching drone. I don't know if it has a name yet, but Hezbollah has regularly fired missiles. I'm just reading right from this article off my phone. Hezbollah has regularly fired missiles across the border with Israel over the past 7 months, we've noticed. But the one on Thursday appears to have been the first successful missile airstrike it has launched from within Israeli airspace. So, folks, this drone crossed into Israeli airspace. It didn't fire the missiles from the Lebanon side. It crossed from Lebanon into northern Israel and then fired the missiles. So it basically breached Israeli airspace, an aerial invasion of Israeli airspace. You might say, well, that's a stretch. Hey, one drone, if 3 Hezbollah fighters called an incursion, an invasion, whatever, but the drone crossed airspace and fired the missiles, and this was, let's see, up around Metula, I believe. And the night before, Wednesday night, Hezbollah had carried out its deepest attack in Israel to date, near Tiberias, using drones. Once again, folks, explosive drones, not firing missiles, but the usual Hezbollah fare of these explosive packed drones. They fly into a target about 22 miles from the Lebanon border. That's pretty deep into Israeli territory. The Israeli military said the attack did not hurt anyone, but it struck a base near the city of Tiberias. Tiberias, a biblical city. Tiberias, a city where I just stayed for a night back in February. There's a large population in Tiberias. It's right on the Sea of Galilee. It's a great place. This is really, really, I mean, we talked the other day, well, you know, it's low intensity. It's not low intensity. It's intense. But folks, this is really, really ramping up to the north to the point where how long can Israel hold its fire and not deal with Hezbollah decisively? How long? 7 months now. How long can these Israelis in the north remain evacuated from their homes? How long can Israel withstand a daily barrage? It's 60 rockets the other day against the Western Galilee and the Golan. It's 75 Hezbollah rockets and missiles today as the Jewish people head into Shabbat in Israel. It's Shabbat there right now. It's past midnight now in Israel. How long can this go on? Hold that thought. Hey, if you like what you're hearing, you find it informative, and you like your news, your current events from a biblical perspective, be sure to subscribe to the Watchman News channel right here on YouTube. It's very easy. And click the notification bell so you get alerts every time a new video is posted. We are fast approaching 1 million subscribers. Hard to believe for such a time as this. And folks, not for our glory or our edification, It's for the glory of the Lord, and He's given us this platform. We want to speak a message of truth in times of universal deceit, seemingly, where good is called evil and evil is called good. That's why we're here to cut through the clutter and bring you some biblical truth and some really important information that you need to know. If you want more and you're a regular Watchman viewer, you can become a premium member, a new feature that we have. Just click join. It's right there under this video. Join, just click on that. And for a few dollars a month, you can become a premium member, meaning you will get our exclusive premium live streams. We're doing our first one next Thursday, May 23rd. Mark your calendars, where it'll be a little more intimate. There'll be Q&A, and it'll be good. We're going to do this once a month for our premium members. You get to know me a little bit better. And that is next Thursday, April 23rd, our premium live stream. And secondly, the Stackscast, our brand new podcast, incredible conversations with fascinating people, sharing testimonies, insights, amazing stuff. Well, we've got the audio version on Spotify and Audible and Apple, but the video version is longer and deeper. So premium members will get the Stackscast, number one, and number two, premium live streams. And we've got some other good things coming down the pike as well, folks, in terms of some gear and some merch coming down the pike. So some good stuff. Click join if you want to know more about premium membership. We want to offer that to, hey, and if you're not premium, don't worry. Still join and subscribe for free and watch the newscast every day. But we've got some very loyal viewers here, and many join us on our live streams. So we thought this would be a cool feature for everyone. Okay, how long can Israel withstand what is happening right now? What do you think, folks? I mean, number one, Israel wants to deal with Rafah first and foremost. They don't want to fight on two fronts, but two fronts are upon you already, because what's happening right now on that Lebanon border is past the point of no return. Look, there's been chatter of a ceasefire. I believe it's past the point of no return for this reason. There's been talk of a ceasefire. I don't believe the UN can secure such a ceasefire, clearly, the feckless UN. But Hezbollah is not going to back up 20 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border. I just can't see it happening, folks. But is Hezbollah, in the meantime, trying to wring some concessions out of Israel? They may be thinking the harder we hit Israel, number one, maybe Israel won't go into Rafah. And secondly, if they go into Rafah, they'll be distracted by us up north. And number three, look, maybe Israel will cave and kind of give us what we want, meaning Hezbollah. And what do they want? They certainly don't want to be backed up 20 miles from the Israel-Lebanon border when they've expended so much blood, treasure, and capital over the years in establishing a beachhead on that very border. I just can't see Israel agreeing to a ceasefire with Hezbollah that leaves Hezbollah essentially intact, folks. Yeah, they've lost over 300 fighters since October 8th. They've taken some heavy hits. We reported the other day, another Hezbollah field commander was killed by the IDF. There's been several instances like that, no doubt. But every time they get hit, they're hitting back hard. Field commander killed on Thursday. They respond with 75 rockets and missiles. They are essentially intact. They've taken lumps, but not like Hamas has in Gaza. I can't see a scenario in which Israel agrees to a ceasefire and essentially leaves Hezbollah intact. If Hezbollah, who would return to their homes in the north? Would you? To a place like Metula, which is a beautiful place where I've spent a lot of time, but which is being bombarded every day by Hezbollah. Okay, you get a ceasefire with Hezbollah. It's kicking the can down the road, folks. Can you really trust Hezbollah to observe the ceasefire? What if their Iranian masters say go? Now's the time. To me, Israel's on war footing right now. The country's united. Reservists are called up. I don't know if there's a better time for Israel to act against Hezbollah now. If you remember, in the wake of October 7th, some in the Israeli war cabinet wanted to act right away against Hezbollah. They knew, let's strike them now. And maybe there's some regret at this point that they didn't, because this is worse and worse every day, folks. This is a very bad situation in the north. And I have to tell you, being in Israel a little while ago, look, the south, we were there on the Gaza border. We're in Barrages and all the Nova Music Festival. We were at all the sites. And by the way, today in Gaza, Israel recovered the corpses of 3 hostages who were killed, who were kidnapped on October 7th. But being down there, I don't want to say I felt secure, but you get the feeling when you're along the Gaza border right now, like, okay, the IDF has this under control. And there's gunfire, and you're hearing it all day. Artillery fire, you're hearing it. The sounds of war around you. They're ringing in my ears when I was there a little while ago. But the IDF is everywhere there, and you just get the impression, Hamas obviously taking major lumps, as we've discussed here in the newscast. Rafah's the last stand. Up north, however, there was an eerie feeling. And I mentioned parts of the north are like a ghost town. And the north, to me, seems much more unpredictable. Now it's getting increasingly predictable in that the rockets and missiles and drones are coming every day. But it's unpredictable in terms of what kind of weaponry is coming in. We talked about these drones now launching missiles from Hezbollah. But in Gaza, the rocket fire, there's some still sporadic outbursts from Gaza, but nothing like it was, obviously. Israel has really done damage there. But Hezbollah, again, hey, they've launched thousands of rockets and missiles since October 8th alone. It's a volatile situation to the north. Not that it's a picnic in the south, like I said, don't get me wrong. But you get the sense in the south, Israel's really got this under control, and they need to go into Rafah. And the longer, though, Israel delays and pulls troops out, Hamas is reconstituting itself and reoccupying parts of Gaza in northern Gaza, central Gaza, that the IDF already dealt with months ago. So that's a problem. But you get the sense still, by and large, okay, Israel can go back in. And it's not ideal to clear out areas that were already cleared out months ago, but they can do it. Again, the north it's completely unpredictable. Who knows what comes next? But Hezbollah is playing with fire. But I think Hezbollah believes, and here we go back to the Biden administration. You might say, don't get political. Some people said, I'm not getting political. I'm just giving you basic facts. If a Republican was in office, I'd say the same thing if I disagreed with him. In this case, Joe Biden is in the Oval Office, and it hasn't gone too well, understatement of the year. And his comments last week that he was withholding arms to Israel were a flashing neon sign to Israel and America's enemies, shared enemies, by the way. And there's a very good chance right now that Hezbollah is saying they realize this, and the Iranian regime realizes it. The Biden administration is tying Israel's hands from going into Rafah. Blinken, the Secretary of State, said last weekend that Israel needs to get out of Gaza. Wow, and leave Hamas alive to fight another day? No thanks. And leave 4 fully functioning battalions still active in Rafah? No thanks. That doesn't sound very strong. Withholding arms from your greatest ally in the Middle East in its greatest time of need, that's telling. And Iran and Hezbollah watching this are saying, you know what? We could strike Israel harder and harder, and it seems that the United States won't do a darn thing. Now is the time to act, they may be saying. They're emboldened, as I said they would be the day Joe Biden made those comments. They're emboldened. And again, although April 13th, 99% intercepted, a miracle, it was emboldening because of the lack of response afterwards. Folks, they're ultimately emboldened because of this, because they know that the Biden administration has Israel over a barrel, so to speak, in that Israel must, in their view, Israel's leaders, listen and consider everything the Biden administration says. Why? Because a great amount of Israel's military hardware, its munitions, comes from the United States. And the Biden administration has the ability to stop weapons shipments and at crucial times if they don't agree with what Israel's doing. And right now they've made clear they don't agree with what Israel's doing. And I think it's completely insane and wrong, obviously, that the Biden administration feels that way, but this is who they are ideologically. They're hardcore leftists. And many in this administration are hostile to Israel, including especially the State Department. Israel got itself into a problem here, folks. And I think Israelis will tell you this, in becoming much too reliant on the United States. And I'm a proud American. I love my country. I'm sitting here right now in Texas, and I love America. And I love that America has been a blessing to Israel. And I thank God that it has, because if the United States had not blessed Israel, we'd be in big trouble. And I believe firmly that one reason God has blessed and prospered this nation more than any nation for now, as we've turned from him, is that we have by and large been supportive of Israel. Other than the nation of Israel itself, the United States has been largely a safe haven for the Jewish people and a friend to Israel. President Harry Truman in 1948, it really began in the modern age, was the first to recognize Israel as a nation. So we could go on about that. But Israel became much too comfortable in relying on the United States, and they should have seen this day coming where you have a hostile administration. The first taste of that, well, there's been previous instances, but intense hostility, obviously Barack Obama and the Obama administration. But now we're seeing it from portions of the Biden administration. You know, Biden will supply some arms as well, by the way. The United States has not withheld 99% of the arms shipments. But the big problem, and that has to be said, the big problem is the optics. You could supply arms, and that's great. But then when you turn around and say, and slam Israel in front of the eyes of the world and say you're withholding some shipments and Israel's wrong, listen, folks, in the Middle East, optics in many cases are everything. And they're taking notes. The enemies of Israel in America, and they see daylight between the U.S. Someone says the U.S. don't bless anything, bro. Okay, bro. Only God gives blessings. I'm just looking at the chat here. Once in a while, I glance over. Okay, bro. But yeah, God does give blessings. I don't know where that comment came from. Let's see. Abu Bakari Tanko. It's Friday. Let's read a few comments. The IDF soldiers are very much demoralized than ever. They are refusing to fight. That's interesting, Abu Bakari, because today I was texting with an IDF soldier, a dear friend of mine who's in Gaza right now, who can't wait to destroy Hamas. Let's see. You know, I'm talking the whole time. The chat's kind of fun. We've got some great people on our chat, such a highly educated audience. But sometimes these trolls, man, it's really funny. Okay. Anyway, a little aside there, a little fun on your Friday. But what do you think? What's the consensus in the North, folks? The showdown's coming. And by the way, to the South, let's just mention before we go, Egypt. You might say, Egypt. Wow, I haven't talked about Egypt in a while. Well, here's the deal. Israel has had this peace treaty with Egypt for over 40 years. And President Sisi of Egypt has been a friend to Israel. There's great military intelligence cooperation between Egypt and Israel, believe me. And they share an enemy in the Muslim Brotherhood, and Hamas is the Palestinian branch of the Muslim Brotherhood. But there's a problem in that the Egyptian population, much of it is very anti-Israel and anti-Semitic. And secondly, we're on the verge here, and this is a big reason that the IDF Egypt is opposing the Rafah operation. Because, folks, there's going to be tunnels leading from Egyptian soil into Rafah. And I'm not so sure Egypt wants that exposed, because that's exactly what we're going to see. So I'm not surprised at Egypt saying, hey, wait a minute, don't go into Rafah. And to the point where Sisi's now saying it may threaten the peace treaty and diplomatic relations between Israel and Egypt. That would be a nuclear option, no pun intended. But you know what I mean? That would be the ultimate, wow, okay, this is really unraveled. Basically, something similar to what Erdogan in Turkey did a few weeks ago when he cut all trade ties with Israel. Now, Erdogan, we talked about this on the live stream the other day, is saying that Israel plans to invade Turkey once it's done with Gaza. He's off the rails. As I said the other day, I don't think he was ever on the rails, but that's what you have in Turkey. But would Egypt go? I would say in previous years that seems unlikely. Egypt doesn't want to mess that up because look, if Egypt pulls out and relations with Israel go out the window, then Egypt in previous years might feel some pressure from the United States saying, hey, wait a minute, Egypt, we give you a lot of aid and arms as well. And so Egypt would be hesitant to take that step. But folks, with the current administration in Washington, D.C., anything is on the table and everything in all the worst ways, in that people don't fear this administration. The United States is seen by its enemies now as a paper tiger under the current leadership that isolates and throws its allies under the bus and appeases its enemies. So everyone now is saying, you know what? This is the time to act. Whether it's Russia invading Ukraine, whether it's Hamas invading Israel on October 7th, whether it's Iran launching over 300 projectiles at Israel on April 13th, whether it's China. When will China act against Taiwan? Afghanistan, what happened there really kicked this all off in the summer of 2021, the disastrous withdrawal there, weakness in the eyes of the world. So the world's worst actors, their eyes, folks, are lighting up right now. They're emboldened. They're encouraged. They feel like this is their time. And look, if there's a change in occupant of the White House in November, and they know it's a possibility, you have a few months to act, to get what you can get before Biden is potentially out of office. And who knows what this election will bring, by the way, and the next few months. That's another story. But a dangerous time, a perilous time, but ultimately a prophetic time. Two things here. Number one, I have a very, very important interview coming up tomorrow, folks. Actually, 3 in the next 4 days. But tomorrow is particularly a very important interview. I'd appreciate your prayers. I'd appreciate this interview, and I won't reveal who it is yet. You will learn on Monday morning or Monday when we come to you. But it's a big one, and sometimes with some pretty influential big folks, they have busy schedules. Things get changed at the last minute. So we're praying for favor here that God's going to see this through, and it's going to be a great interview, and we will bring it to you very, very soon. But it's a biggie tomorrow. I'll just say that. Secondly, I've had people over the past several months sending me messages asking in the comments how they can support Israel. There's a handful of Israeli organizations we work with because I believe so strongly in them and because I know the owners, I know the teams personally, and I know the products personally, and I know firsthand that they're first rate. Artza is one of them. Artzabox.com is the site. And what an awesome product for our viewers at this particular time when it's so difficult to get to Israel right now. I just had a trip canceled because of the airlines canceling the flights because of security concerns. So it's just a crazy time right now trying to get to Israel. Tourism is at a standstill, obviously. That's where Artza comes in. These are incredible, handcrafted, lovingly, painstakingly handcrafted products made in Israel by Israeli artisans and Israeli small businesses. And what they do, folks, you have an Artza box subscription. They send the box to your house. So you don't have to go to Israel to get a taste of Israel at your doorstep. And you see the footage there. You see the pictures. Just some really cool products. My kids love them when the Artza boxes come. My daughters go through them. What do we have this time, Dad? What did Artza send us? It's just good stuff. And folks, it's high quality. This isn't some trinkets in a box. This is high quality, again, lovingly, painstakingly handcrafted by Israelis, Israeli artisans, small businesses. Look, we want to support Israel's economy right now. I talked about the north, the south, problems, people evacuated. I can't think of a better way than supporting Israeli small businesses. Artsabox.com. And there's a discount code you can use, Watchman, that's MAN, discount code Watchman for a 10% discount from your Arts of Box subscription. Hey, I've surprised some family members and friends with Arts of Box subscriptions, Father's Day, Mother's Day, Christmas time. And wow, everyone's blown away. This is really cool stuff. It was made in Israel. Wow, this is special, really good stuff. Different things you can put up in the home, and conversation starters. Where'd you get that? It's from the Holy Land. It's from Israel. So really awesome. Artsabox.com. I believe in them. It's a great organization. And one of the owners of Artsa, a friend of mine, is in the reserves right now, fighting in the IDF, defending the nation. So great cause, great company. We're proud to have them sponsoring the live stream this month. Folks, thanks so much for joining us here on the Watchman Newscast live stream. Hey, keep it all in prayer. And I know it sounds like a dire time, and it is a dire time, no doubt, but God Almighty is still on the throne. And we can hide under our desks and fret and wail. And why would we do that? When God says we're not to have a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind. God said that through Paul. And anxiety, fear, cast all your cares on the Lord. Folks, if you don't know Jesus now's the time to get to know the Lord. You've been pushing him away long enough. Come home. Come home. Have the peace, the shalom that only he can bring to your heart and to your life. You're going to need it. As these days go on, it gets hairier, it gets nastier, it gets more, we'll be using the word unprecedented a whole lot in the days to come. But here's the deal. When the waves are crashing against the boat and the winds are roaring, if Jesus is in the boat with you, you have nothing to fear. He will navigate the storm. He'll go ahead of you. And strangely, when everything's collapsing, you somehow, when everyone around you is running around scared for their life, you'll have peace. And that's the peace only he can bring. I leave you with that as we head into the weekend. God bless you. Until next time, remember, never hold your peace. Hey everyone, thanks for checking out the Watchman Newscast. Make sure you hit the subscribe button so you never miss an upload, and tap the bell icon so you're notified every time a new video is posted. And don't forget to share your thoughts, insights, and comments below. Thanks for watching.